I need you to really listen to what I'm about to say, because I spent most of my life not listening to myself, and I don't want you to make the same mistake. My name is Margaret. I'm 78 years old, and I spent 60 years of my life chasing something called the perfect woman. I thought I was doing everything right. I thought I was being strong. I was wrong about almost everything. Nobody warned me when I was young, not my mother, not my teachers, not anyone. They all told me the same thing in different ways at different times. Be good, be helpful, be giving. Put your family first, smile, be patient. And I listened. I listened so carefully and for so long that I forgot there was another voice I was supposed to be listening to. The one inside me that kept asking, quietly and persistently, "What about what you want, Margaret?" I ignored that voice for 60 years. And when I finally stopped ignoring it, most of my life was already behind me. Let me take you back to when I was 22. I got married in 1968. Things were very different then. Girls didn't grow up hearing that they could be anything they wanted. They grew up hearing that a good husband and a good home were the goals. My own mother sat me down before my wedding and told me, "A good woman puts her family before herself. That's where your worth comes from." She meant well. She really did. But that one sentence shaped the next 6 decades of my life in ways I never could have predicted. So I became the good wife. I cooked every meal, cleaned every room, raised 3 children, supported my husband's work, attended every school event, hosted every holiday dinner, and smiled through all of it. And the strange thing is, I wasn't miserable. I loved my children deeply. There were genuinely happy days. There were moments of real joy. But underneath all of it, there was always that small, quiet voice. Is this all there is? Is this the whole story? Is this really me? I kept that voice very quiet for a very long time. When I was 35, I wanted to go back to school. I had always loved books and stories and language. I had dreamed since I was a little girl of one day becoming a teacher. So I brought it up carefully one evening. My husband said we couldn't manage it financially. The children were still young and needed me at home. Maybe in a few years, he said. So I waited. I told myself it was the sensible thing to do, the loving thing to do. When the children were older and more independent, I brought it up again. But by then, my husband was thinking about retirement, and his parents needed help, and there were always more pressing things. I kept moving my dream further down the list, telling myself that my turn would come eventually, that one day things would calm down and there would finally be space for what I wanted. But things never calmed down. I understand that now. Life does not pause and clear a space for your dreams just because you have been patient. It keeps moving, and if you keep stepping aside, you will simply keep getting left behind. Then, when I was 71, my husband passed away. After 42 years of marriage, he was gone, and for the first time in my entire adult life, I was completely alone. I had expected to feel grief, and I did. But there was something underneath the grief that surprised me, something that frightened me far more than loneliness ever could. I looked in the mirror one morning, a few weeks after he died, and I did not recognize the woman looking back at me. She looked exhausted. She looked hollow. And she looked like a stranger. I had spent so many decades being somebody's wife, somebody's mother, somebody's helper, that I had completely lost track of who I was on my own. I could not tell you what I genuinely enjoyed, apart from other people's happiness. I could not tell you what I was curious about, what I wanted to learn, where I wanted to go. I had given so much of myself away over so many years that there was very little of me left to find. The first year after his death was the hardest of my life. Not because I was lonely, though I was, but because I was face to face with the truth I had been avoiding for decades. I had disappeared. Not all at once, but slowly, piece by piece, year after year. About 18 months later, I was sorting through some old boxes when I found a letter my husband had written to me before we were married. In it, he wrote about how much he admired my curiosity, my love of reading, my sharp mind. He wrote that he could not wait to watch me become everything I was capable of becoming. I sat down on the floor right there and cried for a long time. Because that woman he had described, the curious one, the dreaming one, I had buried her under decades of casseroles and school runs and quiet self-sacrifice. I had told myself I was being selfless. But what I had actually been doing, without ever meaning to, was disappearing. That letter woke something up in me that I had not felt in a very long time. I was 72 years old, and I made a decision. I decided it was not too late. I enrolled in classes at a community college, literature, art history, philosophy, all the things I had always wanted to study. I was the oldest student in every single class. Some people were surprised. I did not care. For the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt genuinely alive. I started taking small trips to places I had always wanted to see. I started reading whatever I wanted just because I wanted to. And I started saying no. That last one was the hardest by far. When my children called with requests, I would sometimes say, "I'm sorry, I have other plans." When friends invited me to things I had no interest in, I would say, "No, thank you." And every single time the world kept turning, people adjusted. And I felt lighter than I had in years. I am 78 now. And I can finally tell you who I am. Not somebody's wife, not somebody's mother, not somebody's helper. Just me. A woman who loves literature and quiet mornings and traveling to new places and learning things she should have learned 50 years ago. But here is the part that keeps me up at night. I wasted so much time. 60 years of my life I spent it trying to fit into a shape that was never really mine. 60 years of putting myself at the bottom of the list. 60 years of telling myself that my turn was coming soon. And I can never get those years back. Not one single day of them. So let me tell you what I wish someone had told me when I was your age. You are not selfish for having dreams. You are not selfish for saying no. You are not selfish for wanting things that are just for you. The people who love you will not fall apart if you take up space. Your family will be okay. And in fact, when you are truly living as yourself, you have so much more to give. Because you are giving from a place of fullness instead of a place of quiet resentment. You probably think you have plenty of time. You think you will go after your dreams later, when the children are older, when work settles down, when everything else is taken care of. But I am telling you, from 78 years of experience, later has a way of never arriving. There is always another reason to wait. Always another person who needs something. Always another obligation standing between you and the life you actually want. Do not wait for someone to give you permission to live your own life. That permission is never going to come from the outside. Nobody is going to tap you on the shoulder one day and say, "Now it is your turn." You have to take it. You have to choose it. You have to decide right now that your life matters just as much as anyone else's. I have been living for myself for 6 years, only 6 years out of 78, and these have been without any question the best 6 years I have ever known. I am happier now than I was at 40. I am more fully myself now than at any other point in my life. I am finally free, but I would give anything to have started at 35 instead of 72. You still have that chance. Please, please do not waste it.